Welcome to LRS Technologics. Today we are going to discuss about what is C sharp, what is class, what is object, the access modifier, and different types of access modifiers. What is C sharp? C sharp is a programming language and it is an object oriented language. Okay, using this programming language, we can implement any application which runs in .NET technology. This generates an intermediate language by .NET framework. C Sharp basically a programming language which is understood by computer to run a program. What is an object? An object is also called as instance and it is an instance of a class through which we can access the methods of that class. It is just a block of memory allocated that can be stored in the form of variables, array, or a collection, which means it's a instance of a class which holds the memory uh, when we create an instance of a class. Okay, in the below example, like class obj equal to new class. New is a keyword which we use to create a instance of a class, means to create a object. Obj called as an object here or instance of a class through which we can access the member of a particular class. Okay, what is a class? Class is a block of code which contains method, properties, variables, etc. Okay, class is a just a blueprint of an object. Class doesn't have any memory. Its class is just a block of code which contains methods. What methods do? It will have some behavior. Okay, all the methods, properties, variables, fields will be available in the under class. How we can access the class members? By creating an instance of a class. How we can create an instance of a class? Using object, we can create a object of a class through which we can access all the members within the class. So class doesn't have any memory. It's just a block of code and which doesn't have any memory. But object will have a memory because it holds the members of that class and the values. So object will have a memory, but class doesn't have any memory. Okay, here is the example. Public class. Class is a keyword here and the class one is the name of this class. Public is an access modifier. It's just a block of code which contains all these members. Okay, public is also a keyword and it is called as an access modifier. Okay, what is an access modifier? Modifier specifies the scope of the members. It's just a encapsulation of an item of members. Okay, which means access modifiers is one of the key feature in the objective oriented program which comes under encapsulation, which means you are encapsulating a member through which who can access this one, who cannot access this one. It is one of the protected level in the objective oriented program. This is called as objective oriented. It gives a level of a hierarchy and it's kind of a protected. Okay, it allows you to define who does or who doesn't have access to certain features. There are different kind of levels type of access modifiers we have in C sharp. Okay. What are the different type of access modifiers in C sharp? Currently, there are 5 different access modifiers in C sharp. What are those? Public, private, protected, internal, protected internal. Okay, just in a glance, we can see which modifier access modifier can be accessible where, and what is the protected level of that particular access modifier. Okay, first we'll see public public access modifier. Public, by name itself we can assume that there is no restriction on accessing the public modifiers. We can access public members from anywhere. This we can also use for a class. Basically, access modifiers will be used for the members of a class. For class also we can use few access modifiers. Okay, here you can see public and internal. These two access modifiers we can use for a class, but no other access modifiers we cannot use for class. Okay, if you want to use access modifier a class, you can use public, either internal. Okay, other items we cannot use for a class, but for members of your class we can use any of them. Okay, based on the your requirement and the access modifier that you want to have. Okay, next, private. Private, by name itself we can assume that this is a private. Okay, we can access this within the same class which it was defined. Okay, if you use private access modifier for a method of a class, so that method you can access only within the class. Outside of the class you cannot use that one. Okay, this is default access modifier type for members of a class. If none is formally specified, it means you declared it as a method, but you have not specified any access modifier. So system will treat that as a private because it's a default. So that protected level will be within the class. You cannot access the outside of that class. If you say specify a access modifier, it acts accordingly. If none of them specified, then it's treated as a private. Okay, of course this access modifier we cannot use for a class. Next, protected. Protected means we can access this within the class and derived class, which means what is derived class? Inherited class. Let's suppose we have two classes available. Okay, so is class 1 and class 2. Class 2 is inherits the class 1, which means class 2 called as child class and class 1 called as base class. So when you inherit the class, you can access the members of a class. However, if the access modifier specifies the protected, then only you can access the members of that class. If the access modifier specifies as a private, that you cannot access outside of the class as I specify. So if you derived class also, you cannot access the private members, but protect members you can access in the derived classes or a child classes. Okay, we cannot access this without inheritance. Without inheritance you cannot access this protected members. Okay, this access modifier also we cannot use for class. Internal, what is internal? We can assume that this is the internal. Okay, as we know that we can have multiple projects under one solution. If you want to access the members from a project 1 to project 2, so either so you can use the project 1 members from the project 2, but if you specify the internal, then only you can use those members of the class. If you use a private or protected, you cannot, but if you specify internal, then you can use it in the um, other projects as well. Okay, then protected internal, the protected and internal, this means it is a combination of protected and internal. When protected is accessible, then protected internal can be accessible. If internal is accessible, then protected internal also can be accessible. If both are not accessible, then protected internal also cannot be accessible, which means it's just a combination of these two. This access modifier also we cannot use it for a class. Okay, so we have 5 different access modifiers in C sharp. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe for more videos. Have a great day.